everybody, it's Mel. Thank you so much for joining me today for May's round of TBR Campaign. So TBR Campaign is my game that I play every month to decide what books I'm going to read. It is inspired by the role-playing game Dungeons and Dragons. I have a board, which is this here, and I have a path that I need to follow up the mountain, and along the way I come to a bunch of different stops with a variety of different images on those stops which have different prompts that help me to choose the books that I'm going to read. I did start this in November of last year, and I will link the video where I go through and explain everything about the game, how it works, what the gameplay is, rewards, punishment, all of that stuff. So that will be in the description below. So if you're unfamiliar with the game, you can go ahead and check that out. But that is what we are doing today. So the first thing I actually need to do is go through and talk to you about how I went in the last game of TBR Campaign that I played. It was actually in February that I last played the game. So in March I ran Roll of Reads, which used to be my TBR game and has now been put on hold. However, I did start a readathon where people joined me to play Roll of Reads, and so we did that again in March. And then in April I decided not to have a TBR game. I decided just have my TBR organised for magical reads. So I'm going to go through now and talk about all of the books that I should have read throughout TBR Campaign for February to see whether or not I end up with a reward, which is what happens if I have read all the books, or whether I end up with a punishment, which is what happens if I have not read all the books. When preparing for this video, I didn't grab the books, so I'm just going to have to put them up on screen, but I'm sure that you don't care. So for my first roll, I landed on a battle square, which means that I need to pick two books, one that I really want to read and one that I'm not particularly keen on for whatever reason, and then I roll a dice twice. Whichever one has the highest score, that's the book that I read. And I ended up with the book that I was least excited about, which was A Splendid Ruin by Megan Chance, and I did read that. For roll number 2, I landed on a half elf, and that meant that I had to read a young adult or middle grade book, and I chose to read Frostheart number 3, Rise of the World Eater by Jamie Littler, and I did read that one. For roll number 3, I landed on a mood read. With my mood reads, I can choose it throughout the month. I did have my In Real Life Book Club book that I needed to read in that month though, and that was Death on the Nile by Agatha Christie, and I chose to put that in as the mood read, and I did read that. For roll number 4, I landed on Human, which means I need to read a contemporary or romance or women's fiction, and I chose to read That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon by Kimberly Lemming, which was a romance, and I did read that one. For roll number 5, I landed on the class square, which is the dice image, and that meant I needed to roll a d10 to determine what class I was going to be getting a prompt for. I landed on a thief, and that meant that I needed to read a book with an unlawful or morally grey character. I chose Electra by Jennifer Saint, and I did read that one. And then on my 6th roll, I made it to the end, and the end square is basically a mood read, but instead of picking at some point throughout the month, I have to pick then and there, and I chose Boyfriend Material by Alexis Hall, and I did read that one. So that means that I did read all the books that I was supposed to read for TBR Campaign for February, so that means that I get to have a reward. So I get to spin the reward wheel, which is very exciting. So I'm actually just going to hold it there, and then hopefully you will see what is going on. Treat your shelf. That is kind of a double-edged sword actually, because I can go and buy a book, which I'm kind of on a book buying slowdown, works out really well, but I do have to read that book. So kind of means I have to add an extra book on no matter what. So yeah, I guess I'm not sure how much of a reward that is, but I do get to buy a book, which is very exciting. I'm going now to talk you through some of the books that I need to read in the month of May and some of the books that I would like to read in the month of May, and hopefully I'll get some of these on the TBR. We'll just see how we go. I do have my computer just here with all this information, so that's why I keep looking over this way. So I do have a few different kind of categories for some of these books. I have priority books, I have some Eurovision-a-thon books, because Eurovision-a-thon, which is a readathon that I'm taking place in, is currently happening. It happens from the middle of April to the middle of May, corresponding to the Eurovision Song Contest, and I have some books that I won't have gotten to that I would like to read in the first 2 weeks of May, if possible. And then I have 2 books that I'd really like to get to if I possibly can. So, the priority books: Enclave by Claire G. Coleman. This is the Last to Read book club read. The book club has now moved exclusively over to Ko-Fi. It is one of the perks that you get as a first tier member, which is only $2 to join. This month, in May, we are reading Enclave by Claire G. Coleman, so I'd really like to get that on the TBR if I possibly can. Then I have Emma of 83rd Street by Audrey Beleza and Emma Harding. This is an arc that I have been approved for on NetGalley, and it is due to be released on the 1st of June, so I'd like to read it before it's released. Then I have The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, which is a book that I'm reading for a vlog, which I'm not going to go into. Then I also have The Poison Tree by Erin Kelly, and that is one of my self-destruct books, and unlike the rest of my self-destruct books, this one will self-destruct in June, so I'd really like to read it in either May or June. My Eurovision books that I'd like to get to, I have A Short History of Tractors in Ukrainian, Inga's War, An Elderly Lady is Up to No Good. And then the books that I'd really love to get to, if I possibly can, we have Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. That is the book club pick for Bethany's Patreon, so Bethany from Beautifully Bookish Bethany. I haven't managed to join in the book club in the last couple of months, so I'd really like to this month, especially because I'm very interested in Half a Soul. I've heard nothing but amazing things about it, and I very much would like to read it. And then also in that category is The Murder of Graham Catton by Katie Lowe, and that is the book for May for Chloe's Crime Scene Corner, which is a book club run by Chloe from Chloe Reads Books, and I was part of that book club quite a while ago, and I keep meaning to go back to it and keep not managing to actually fit it in. I'd really like to go back and read some more of the books. I was really enjoying it. I really love Chloe. I think she's fantastic, and I enjoy being part of things that she does, so I'd really like to, if possible, fit that in as well. So those are all the books that I'd really like to read. Let's see what happens if I can fit any of those in. I do not think I'll fit all of those in. It depends on the roles, of course, but let's see how we go. Let's go now and see what role number 1 will bring us. So as I've been playing all year, I'm playing with my little D&D character, Emily. Oh, hi, Shade. Very helpful kitty. Can I get you to move? Yeah, that's the opposite of what I want you to do. Okay. Are you going to attack Emily? Let's see how we... Oh, yep. She is going to attack Emily. No! Do I need to give you your own dice again? This is where I always get into trouble because I always lose dice. What's that? Let's go forward. Roll number 1 was a 4. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. We have a gnome. Thanks, Jade. So as you just saw, for roll number 1, I landed on a gnome, which means that I need to read a short story or a book of short stories, a graphic novel, a manga, or a novella. I've decided for this one to go with the graphic novel because graphic novels, manga, this is an area that I'm still attempting to broaden my horizons in and read a little bit more of. So I think what I'm going to go with is The Sandman by Neil Gaiman. Neil Gaiman is one of my favourite authors of all time. I absolutely love pretty much everything I've read of his, and I've also really enjoyed the Netflix adaptation of The Sandman, which I'm pretty certain Neil Gaiman had a hand in creating as well. And yeah, I just think that it would be really fun because I know that I've really enjoyed the TV show. show. I love Neil Gaiman, and so even though graphic novels are still something I'm not really that familiar with, much more familiar than I used to be, but still it's not my kind of main category, genre, whatever. So I think it'd be good to go for something I'm familiar with, just in a different format. So that is what I've decided to do. All right, let's go to roll number 2. Okay, roll number 2 is a 3. 1, 2, 3 is an orc. And as you just saw, again, for roll number 2, I landed on an orc. And this means that I need to read a thriller, mystery, gothic, or dark academia book. So for this one, I'm actually going to be reading The Secret History by Donna Tartt. This is a book that my friend Michelle and I are going to be buddy reading in May, and yeah, it's amazing that it fitted in here because I forgot to mention it a second ago with my buddy reads. But anyway, for those people that don't know what The Secret History is, I feel like most people do, but I'm just going to read the back to you. Truly deserving of the accolade modern classic, Donna Tartt's novel is a remarkable achievement, both compelling and elegant, dramatic and playful. Under the influence of their charismatic classics professor, a group of clever, eccentric misfits at an elite New England college discover a way of thinking and living that is a world away from the humdrum existence of their contemporaries. But when they go beyond the boundaries of normal morality, they slip gradually from obsession to corruption and betrayal, and at last, inexorably, into evil. So this is dark academia. I think it's been credited as being the sort of original dark academia book. I don't know the history of dark academia. I know that dark academia itself kind of extends from Gothic literature, but I don't know where the specific genre of dark academia came in as against Gothic literature. If you do know that information, please comment below and let me know, because that would be really interesting to find out. But anyway, this is the book that I'll be reading for Orc. Okay, let's go do roll number 3. Roll number 3. Oops. Was it 2? 1, 2. A travel card. For roll number 3, I landed on travel card. So I have a bunch of cards that I use whenever I land on the travel card, and I need to pick one of those. They all have prompts on them, and then I go from there and pick a book. It was suggested by a couple of people on a couple of different videos that I take the prompts out as they come up so that I have more chance of getting all of the prompts, which I thought was a really good idea, so that is what I have done. But yes, I will now choose a travel card and then pick a book. I'm going to give it a bit of a shuffle first. Not a great shuffler, but needs must. Okay, I'm going to fan them out like that. And I'm going to pick this one here, which you can see, but I can't. Indie or self-published? Okay, interesting. Let me have a bit of a think about that, and I will be alright. So I decided to go with Fantasy of Frost by Kelly St. Clair. If you have been around on my channel for a while, you would know that this has appeared on a number of TBRs and never managed to be read, which is shameful because Lana sent this to me quite a while ago. I think maybe like 3 years ago. It is one of her favourite books of all time, and I keep saying that I'm going to read it and then I just don't for one reason or another. So I really, really need to read it. I think it's self-published. Yes, it is self-published. And yeah, I think it's beautiful. So it says on the back, I know many things, what I am capable of, what I will change, what I will become. But there is one thing I will never know. The veil I've worn from birth carries with it a terrible loneliness, a suppression I cannot imagine ever being free of. Some things never change. My mother will always hate me. Her court will always shun me. Until they do. When the peace delegation arrives from the savage world of Glacium, my life is shoved wildly out of control by the handsome Prince Kedrick, who, for unfathomable reasons, shows me kindness. And the harshest lessons are learned. Sometimes it takes the world bringing you to your knees to find that spark you thought lost forever. Sometimes it takes death to show you how to live. So yeah, it sounds fantastic, and yet I have not read it yet. Like I said, this is shameful and I intend to fix this in May. Okay, it's time for roll number 4. Roll number 4. Whoops. 17. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 is an elf. As you just saw, again, I landed on an elf, and that means that I need to read a book that is either sci-fi or fantasy. I know which one it is that I'm going to read for that, but it's in another room, so I will be back in a moment. So the book that I'm going to read is City of Dragons by Robin Hobb. This is the third book in the Rainwild Chronicles, so therefore it is, I don't even know. 3, 6, 9, 11, 12th in the Realm of the Elderling series. I don't know how to talk about this without giving spoilers, but it is a fantasy, epic fantasy, set in another world, and there's dragons. There's a bit of a story behind the Rainwild Chronicles. For me, I love the Realm of the Elderlings as a whole. I have read all of the trilogies, except I haven't read this quartet, which is the Rainwild Chronicles, which comes second last of the books. The series that is in this, it's kind of confusing, but yeah, I didn't read them, so now I'm reading them. It's been a little while since I read the second one, but I'm sure I'll pick it up and I will be able to figure out what's going on. But yeah, definitely going to put this one on the list. It's also one of the smaller Robin Hobbs. This is a mass market paperback, so it's got fairly small font, but it is only 425 pages long, which, like I said, for Robin Hobb, even a mass market paperback is actually pretty small. So yeah, hopefully I will get to it in May. Let's go now and see what I get for roll number 5. Roll number 5, I think, is a 3. 1, 2, 3. That is the character class dice. Okay. So once again, as you just saw, I landed on the character class, so the dice symbol. That means that I need to roll a d10 and each number corresponds to a character class, and then there's a prompt for that. So I have my d10 here. I'm actually going to roll in this Amazon box, which was just on the floor just there. So yeah, let's do that thing. And I got a 5. So for 5, a fighter, so a book featuring war or battles. Okay, it's probably going to be another fantasy, I think. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to read this book. So this is, it says Generations, an original novel by Tim Levin. So this is a novel that is based on or inspired by Firefly, which is a TV show that I absolutely love, created by Joss Whedon, and yeah, I really want to read these books. I have 2 of them. I mean, there's a man holding a gun there, so I'm imagining there's going to be battles, but let's see what it says. A mysterious star map. On an outer rim moon, Captain Malcolm Reynolds ends a card game, the lucky winner of an old map covered in mysterious symbols. The former owner insists it's worthless. Back on Serenity, River Tam is able to interpret it. An ancient legend. River claims the map points the way to one of the arcs, legendary generation ships that brought humans from Earth, that was, to the verse. The salvage potential alone is staggering. A drifting relic. As the crew approach the aged floating ship, they find it isn't quite as dead as it first seemed. The closer they get, the more agitated River becomes. She claims something is waiting on board, something powerful and very angry. Like I said, love Firefly, so I anticipate really enjoying this book. Don't imagine there's going to be a lack of battles or fighting, because that's kind of what happens in the show every episode, so yeah. Alright, so the next roll is roll number 6. We're getting pretty close to the end now, so it's very possible that this will be the last roll and I will get to end, which will mean that I can pick whatever book I want, but I have to pick it right now. But anyway, let's go see what happens. Roll number 6. Whoops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and that got me to end. So as I predicted, I did land on the end square. That means that I can pick a mood read, but I have to pick it today. So I decided to actually go with Enclave by Claire G. Coleman. As I mentioned before, this is the Last to Read Book Club's book for May. It was chosen by our member of the month, Tracy. Thanks, Tracy. I'm very excited to read this book. I read Terra Nullius, also by Claire G. Coleman, last year and absolutely loved it, and so I'm very excited to see what else she has in store for us. So this one is a post-apocalyptic sci-fi dystopian story set in Australia. Don't really know much else about this one, but I'm really excited to read it and see what happens. So yeah, that works out really well there. So that was my TBR campaign. Over on our Ko-Fi, the Last to Read Book Club Ko-Fi, I play TBR campaign for our top tier members, and every month Ellie and or Lana pick one prompt that we got for TBR campaign for Ko-Fi that I have to include in my TBR campaign. So this month Ellie decided that I needed to use the travel card that she got, and that is Rowan picks. So for my Ko-Fi members and for my co-hosts, that will be friend, family member, partner. But for me, it's Rowan specifically. So Rowan has chosen Heatwave by Richard Castle. Now, this book is, if you've seen the TV show Castle, that is based on the idea that the author, Richard Castle, who is played by Nathan Fillion, has decided that he is basing his newest character on a police detective, and he wants to do some research, and so he sets it up with the mayor that he can shadow one of the detectives on the police in New York. This is the first book that he wrote in the show, and it was written as an actual book. Obviously it is ghost written. It's not actually written by Richard Castle, who is a fictional character, or Nathan Fillion. At least I don't think it's written by Nathan Fillion. Ghost written by Nathan Fillion. It is a mystery. So we have an NYPD homicide detective, Nikki Heat, and she's hit with an unexpected challenge when the commissioner assigns superstar magazine journalist James Rook to ride along with her to research an article on New York's finest. I borrowed this from our friend Anna quite some time ago. I fully intended to do a vlog where I would read this and watch some Castle and kind of do a bit of a compare and contrast, have a bit of a fun chat about it. I may still do that in May, but in any case, Rowan decided that I really need to give this back to Anna. So this is the book that I'll be reading in May that goes with Rowan's pick for the Ko-Fi edition of TBR campaign. Then I have the reward, which was to purchase a book, but it adds a book, so I'm really not sure how much of a reward that ends up being. But anyway, I've decided to buy Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater because it looks really interesting. I'm really intrigued. I've heard great things about it. It's the book club pick for Bethany's Patreon, so it works out really well. I don't know a lot about this. I have heard great things, but I don't know a huge amount about it. What I do know is that it is set in Regency, England, and it is a fantasy, and it's about a woman who either definitely has only got half a soul for some reason or feels like she has. I'm not sure how that goes. But yeah, like I said, I've heard amazing things about it, so I'm super excited to read it. So this plus Half a Soul and the first volume of The Sandman by Neil Gaiman is my TBR. So we have Sandman by Neil Gaiman, which was for roll number 1 when I rolled a gnome. Then I rolled and got an orc, and for that I'm reading The Secret History by Donna Tartt. Then I got the travel card and I landed on indie, so I'm reading Fantasy of Frost by Kelly St. Clair. Then I got an elf, and for that I need to read a fantasy or sci-fi, and I'm reading City of Dragons by Robin Hobb. Then I landed on a character class and I rolled the d10, got a 5, which means that I need to read a book with battles. And for this one I'm going with Generations, which is a Firefly novel. Then I landed on the end square, and for that I'm reading Enclave by Claire G. Coleman. Then for Rowan Picks for my Ko-Fi TBR campaign, I'm reading Heatwave by Richard Castle, or ghost written by somebody. And then I have Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. So I feel like this is doable with an extra book and then a graphic novel. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But I do, and then the graphic novel. But I do also have the arc that I'd like to get to. So I'm just not sure how I'm going to go next month. But that's that. So I didn't manage to fit on any of my Eurovision books, and I didn't fit on Chloe's Crime Scene Corner, and I didn't get 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo on there, nor did I get the arc. So this could be a very busy month. We will have to see how we go. But anyway, that's the TBR for the month of May. Please comment below and let me know what your TBR looks like for the month of May. Are you feeling happy about it? Are you feeling like me, a little bit overwhelmed? How did you decide your TBR? Are you a mood reader? Do you do a TBR game? How is it that you pick your TBR in any given month? Please comment all that down below. If you'd like to leave me a comment but you don't know what, then leave me a one of those upside down kind of emojis, because I'm feeling a little bit uncertain of myself. All of my social media details are listed in the description below, so if you'd like to go and follow me on any of those other platforms, please feel free to do so. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I would absolutely love it if you would subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up. And yeah, like I said, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoy this video, and I will see you next time.